let's say we were asked to solve for x for this quadratic equation. Now, obviously, you can use some algebraic methods like maybe the quadratic formula or factoring if it's possible. But today I want to show you how you can use a graphing calculator to solve this very easily if you are given a graphing calculator. So one thing you want to do first is put this in standard form. And so I'm going to subtract 7 on both sides. And now I have x squared minus 3x minus 7 equals 0. So essentially in making the standard form, I created a new function. I'll just call that your y1 because we're using the graphing calculator. And I want to find when this y1 gives me a y value of 0. So let's put this in our graphing calculator here. I'm going to go to y equals, and let's put it in our y1 formula. X squared minus 3x minus 7. Okay, so now if I press the trace button, I will see, okay, so now I know there are going to be two solutions, and I can kind of make a guess here. All right, so somewhere in maybe -1.5 perhaps, and then there's another one maybe at like 6. No, that's too high. Maybe 5, maybe 4, somewhere in between, right? So I have two solutions that are not whole numbers, and so that's why the graphing calculator is very nice for this part. And this is good for maybe you have equations or functions that are not quadratic but maybe cubic or fifth powers, which are much harder to do and you can't use the quadratic formula. So what you want to do in this case is use the calc feature. So I'm going to go to second, trace, which is calc. And then you see that 0, this is where we are trying to find our roots or our x-intercepts right there. So 0, now it's going to ask you 3 questions. Left bound, so this basically says, okay, where, pick a value that's left of the root or the 0 that you're looking for. So let's say I'm looking for this one, right? So am I on the left side of this root? Yes. So I'm going to press enter. Now it's asking for the right bound. Am I on the right side of this root? No, I'm not. So I'm going to go over. So you don't have to go, you can pass right over it to the right, but I'm just going to show, okay, I'm clearly to the right of this root. So I'm going to press enter. That's going to ask us to take a guess. Now you can just press enter anyway, but why not? Let's get as close as possible. Press enter. And there you go. Our first 0 is 4.541. And those of you who are taking calculus, 3 values after the decimal is preferred. Okay, so the graphing calculator only found me one of them. That's because it asked us to find the left and right bound so that it can only find one 0 at a time. So to find the other one, we just do it again. Second trace, go to 0, press enter. And now it's asking for the left bound. I know here's -1, -2, so I'm pretty sure -2 is to the left of it. Yep. And then it says right bound. I'm going to go to the right of it for sure. And then it's going to press guess, and you can just press enter again. And there you go, -1.54. 1 is our other x value, which we used the graphing calculator feature. So once again, to do that, you plug in your equation y1 and make sure it's in standard form. Remember how we subtracted 7 to both sides to make sure it's in standard form. And then, so that's step 1. Step 2, you do second trace, which is the calc feature. And then step 3, you press 0, which is the second option. And then it's going to ask you a series of questions, the left, the right bound, and the 0, and that should give you 1, 0 or root, and do steps 2 through 4 for the other roots. And there you go. Those are your 5 steps or so to figuring out the roots or zeros of any function using a graphing calculator.